What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the second episode of On the Pond Hockey Talk with your host, Adam Steer. Now, guys, before I get into this video, I want to quickly congratulate the Tampa Bay Lightning on their Stanley Cup. It's the second Stanley Cup in franchise history and their first Stanley Cup since 2004. Now, this was one of the most fun teams to watch in a while with their combination of, high-end players with their grit and their lineup. They did it all without Steven Stamkos. A big congratulations to the Tampa Bay Lightning. Victor Hedman, Braden Point, Nikita Kucherov, Vasilevsky, Steven Stamkos. Couldn't imagine how hard that was, being in the bubble for that long and, barely only playing one game. But they are deserved a big congratulations. That was a great team to watch. They truly deserve to win the Stanley Cup this year, and I'm really happy for them. They exercised their demons from 2019 when they had that heartbreaking sweep to Columbus after they had one of the best teams and seasons in the history of the modern NHL era. With that being said, though, let's get into this video, guys. We are talking about the 2020 NHL Draft. I am making my mock draft. Now, the draft is coming up very soon, and I'm going to make all of my picks. I'm going to make the first 15 picks of the draft. That's going to be what my mock draft is, the lottery. I want to focus on the lottery because those are the most important picks of the draft, I believe, and the ones that will have the most intrigue for sure, especially some at the top of the draft. So with that being said, guys, we're going to get into it. Before I get into the first pick, though, however, I do want to say that this mock draft that I'm doing is not just who I think they're going to take, it's who I believe they should take. Because if I, said I believe they're taking, I would just read all the mock drafts and be like, oh, they're clearly going to take that guy. But I don't want to do that. I want to make my own mock draft with who I would take if I was working the hockey operations for each of these teams. So with that being said, we're going to get into it. And with the first overall pick, the New York Rangers are, surprise, surprise, going to take left winger Alexis Lafreniere from Rimouski Oceanic. Now, this guy's can't miss prospect, the clear-cut first overall pick, no-brainer. He's going to play alongside young forwards in New York, guys like Capo Kakko, who they drafted second last year. They have Vitaly Kravtsov, they took a few years ago. They still have Buchnevich there. They have Mika Zibanejad. They still have, they have Timmy Panarin, who was nominated for the Hart Trophy. They are loaded up front. They have a ton of wingers. They could still use some centers, but I think they're going to be fine with Lafreniere and Kakko and Panarin and Zibanejad and all those guys. Clear-cut first overall pick, easy. Guy's going to play in the league for 12 to 15 years, and it's going to be a great pick for them. Moving on. This is the next very interesting pick of the draft, LA at number 2. Now, I've been debating, does LA take Tim Stützle, the German winger, or do they take the big center from Canada, plays for Sudbury, Quinton Byfield? Now, part of me thinks Quinton Byfield's still the better prospect of the two because I think there's more to his game that we haven't even seen yet because he's only 17 years old. However, if I'm the Kings, I go Tim Stützle because I think with what LA's trying to do now with their team is going mega speed, mega skill. I think Tim Stützle fits that to an exact T. Now, that's not knocking Byfield. I love Byfield, and if they take him at second, I'm thrilled. You can't mess with either of these players, but I just think the way Stützle plays is going to fit the way the new age LA Kings want to play. If they were drafting in this spot 4, 5, 6 years ago, I would have said Byfield all day. He's 6'4", he's huge, he can score, he can do everything, but he's big, and LA was a big team back then too, so that's why it would have made sense, right? But I have Tim Stützle going second to the LA Kings. Now, the Ottawa Senators are at number 3, and this is probably the second easiest pick in the draft because Lafreniere first is the easiest, pick because he's the best player by a mile. I have the Ottawa Senators surprise taking Quinton Byfield of the Sudbury Wolves, 6'4". There's so much more to his game that I think we still haven't seen. If he can, even figure out how to use his size to his advantage even more and, get a little nasty even, he's going to be an unbelievable player. And I wouldn't be surprised if he went back to junior for a year because he is only 17 years old. And he torched the OHL this year, or they give him a contract and, give him 9 games and then maybe they keep him. So I wouldn't be surprised either way, but Ottawa definitely takes Quinton Byfield at number 3, and I think he's going to be their number 1 center of the future moving forward. So next, the Detroit Red Wings. Now, everyone's mom's dog has the Detroit Red Wings taking Cole Perfetti. Now, it's so easy to get hyped up into everyone, there's a connection with Cole Perfetti. He plays in Saginaw. You're talking about the Detroit Red Wings. Chris Osgood runs the team, and, he played for Detroit, and Steve Yzerman's Detroit's GM. So you think that there's a correlation, but teams don't just pick players because they have a connection to a certain, organization, especially if you're picking that high in the draft. Now, with Detroit a few years ago, it was easy for them to take Quinn Hughes because, granted, they probably should have taken Quinn Hughes, but at the time they took Zadina. Now, with Quinn Hughes, he was from Michigan, and you're talking about the Detroit Red Wings. So everyone just had that automatically assumed. But because Zadina fell, they ultimately took him. But the thing is, it's not always guaranteed. Just because there's an easy correlation based off geography, they're not going to take him. So based off that, I don't think they're going to take Cole. I don't think they should take Cole Perfetti. I think what the Detroit Red Wings should do is go out to Erie and take defenseman Jamie Drysdale. Now, I think this guy is unbelievable. You saw what he did at the World Juniors very briefly as a 17-year-old. This guy dominated that game against Finland. Now, imagine what he's going to do when he gets even bigger and stronger and becomes an even better skater. He's like a mix of Cale Makar. He's not as offensively dynamic as Cale Makar, but I think he sort of has that skating ability, maybe a little less skating ability than Quinn Hughes. But I think defensively, he just seems like he's defensively ready for the NHL. And I wouldn't be surprised if he cracked Detroit's roster next year, assuming they drafted him. He's an absolute stud on the back end. Next, I have the Ottawa Senators with their second pick in the top 5. I have them taking Lucas Raymond because if you look at it, they're taking Quentin Byfield at number 3. All right, they're getting their number 1 center of the future. Why not complement that with star winger to go alongside Lucas Raymond, who's a playmaker who can shoot the puck extremely well. I think Lucas Raymond's shot is highly underrated. So I think if they went Lucas Raymond at number 5 to complement with Quentin Byfield, that'll be very good. They have defensemen in the system, and I just don't think that it's worth it to take Jake Sanderson at that spot when I think Lucas Raymond's the better prospect currently. So I think Lucas Raymond at 5 would be a great fit for them. Next at 6, the Anaheim Ducks. Now I was debating between a few guys, Marco Rossi, Cole Perfetti, Jake Sanderson. I think that they're going to take Jake Sanderson. I think they should take Jake Sanderson because it's not because he's a defenseman. I think there's an argument to make that he could be the best player available at the spot. I know a lot of teams have him very highly, and he's a defenseman that doesn't have the true offensive dynamic ability, and not to the ability that Drysdale has, but I think he's a bit bigger. He skates unbelievably too, but he's a bit nasty to his game, and I think if you pair that with some of the guys they have in Anaheim right now with Hampus Lindholm and Cam Fowler to help, they lost Shea Theodore, they lost Brandon Montour and a bunch of other guys back when they were good. They lost some guys in the expansion draft, so they're going to look to replace that, and I think they do that with Jake Sanderson. If Drysdale gets to the spot, it'd be hard for them to pass up Drysdale. Next, guys, after the 6th overall pick, we have 7th overall pick, which belongs to the New Jersey Devils. I have them taking center/winger Cole Perfetti. Now, I was really debating between Perfetti and Rossi here, but I think, Perfetti is an overall better prospect. I think he's so smart. And with his, hands and his goal scoring ability and his playmaking ability, I think that he is a better overall player than Rossi. And I think that Perfetti would also complement New Jersey's studs very well. I think Perfetti alongside Jack Hughes. Jack Hughes is a playmaker. Guy, he likes to set people up. And I think Cole Perfetti with his hands and the way he plays the game can complement a guy like Jack Hughes in the future very, very well. I think Cole Perfetti would fit nicely in New Jersey at number 7. Keep in mind, this is a note. The New Jersey Devils have 2 other picks in the first round. They have 18 and 20. So if they were to package those and move up maybe just outside the top 10 or maybe inside the top 10, who knows? That's the beauty of the draft, guys. We have no clue what anyone's doing. So Cole Perfetti, number 7 to the New Jersey Devils. Next, I have the Buffalo Sabres. And, Buffalo just needs guys that compete and that are very highly skilled and guys that they know they can rely on to, be a factor in their lineup regardless. And to me, that screams Marco Rossi. He's a center, which I think helps huge. Not only do I think Rossi's one of the best players available, he also helps a huge position of need, which is center ice. And they could have a guy playing alongside Eichel. I think he would be a very good second-line center in the NHL. I think he would complement a lot of, goal-scoring wingers because Rossi is an outstanding playmaker too, and he has a very good shot. Rossi 8 would be great for the Sabres. I think he'd add a lot of stability onto their center ice core. Moving on, at pick number 9, I changed this pick so many times. I had Seth Jarvis, I had Jack Quinn for a while, but I'm actually changing it to Anton Lundell. Now, I know his upside's not the highest in the draft, but a few years ago with the World Juniors, he showed a lot of promise, and he was hurt for a bit of this year, so he wasn't able to really show his true self. But I think you look at Minnesota, and they need guys to play in the middle of the ice, and I think Lundell could fit absolutely perfect there. He's one of the best players available at the spot, and yes, center ice is a big need for them, but I think the way he plays will fit the way the Wild do. So I think they're going to take him. I think they should take him as well. Moving on, guys, number 10, the Winnipeg Jets. Now, again, I move things around, but I have the Winnipeg Jets taking winger Alexander Holtz. Now, if I'm, as someone who also likes the Jets too, my teams are LA, Toronto, Winnipeg. I have family from all three. As someone who does like Winnipeg too, I would love to see them take a center iceman and Seth Jarvis. But I think if you have Alex Holtz at this spot in the draft, I feel like they have to take him because he's a dynamic goal scorer. And I feel like, you know, not saying this will complement them if they trade Line, but I think if you're adding in another guy that, probably shouldn't have been there at that spot realistically, it's easy to say. I think Holtz could be really nice on this team moving forward. So I have Holtz going 10 to Winnipeg. I think him as a pure sniper could be really nice for them. Next, I have the Nashville Predators. Now I know a lot of people are saying, there's a lot of smoke going up the Yaroslav Askarov to Nashville kind of thing, but I don't know. I don't like to buy into the hype that, a few people have it in and then all of a sudden it's like illegal to have your mock draft without Yaroslav Askarov going 11th to Nashville. I have them taking Seth Jarvis. I think Nashville has a good center core right now, but I think if you're looking at the future, Seth Jarvis could be a player that could complement those guys very well. I think he can play on the second line. I think he can also play on the wing too. So he's a guy that's very versatile and can move around. Seth Jarvis, I think being the 11th overall pick is huge for him because he is a massive riser, and I think this guy's going to be an absolute stud. I've been hearing Braden Point comparisons to this guy, and if he turns out to half of what Braden Point is, it's a great pick for Nashville at 11. Next, number 12, we have the Florida Panthers picking. Now, I do think that Florida should take a defenseman because they need them so badly. And at this point, there's Jack Quinn, there's a few other guys, there's Askarov, but I think if you're looking at this spot, number 12, they got to go with Braden Schneider. I think this guy is also, again, I want the Leafs to drop him at 15, but I just don't think he'll be there. I just have a feeling that Schneider's going to go at 12. I think the type of defenseman he is really fits into not only the new age defenseman, but even the type of old age defenseman. He's he's very physical. Again, like Sanderson has that bite to his game. I think he's more physical than Sanderson, but I think he could be a very solid second line defenseman. So Braden Schneider going 12 to Florida, I think would be a really great fit there. And I think that'd be awesome. So number 13, the Carolina Hurricanes. Now, this is where I think the goalie's going to go. I think Yaroslav Askarov is going to go 13 to the Carolina Hurricanes. I think if they get to the spot, they have to take him, because if there's one thing that they question in Carolina, it's who's playing goalie. And realistically, you're not counting on David Ayres to get you that many wins. I'm sorry. Sorry, Leafs fans. I know it hurts. Anyway, they're going to take Yaroslav Askarov at 13. They're going to shore up their goalie problems for the next 10 years. Next, we have the Edmonton Oilers picking at 14. Now, I think they got to go Jack Quinn here. If he somehow gets available. Now, the problem is with this kind of draft, there's going to be like one or two guys that are going to be like, how on earth did they get to the spot? How did they fall? It's just a matter of who it's going to be. And I personally put Jack Quinn here. I think he's an outstanding goal scorer, and I think he is the best player on the board for sure. And I think he would complement McDavid and Draisaitl so well. He would just be another goal scorer that they would need. He could play with McDavid even. I think that would be the best fit. Just scoring a bunch of goals. He can shoot from anywhere. He's improved his skating. That was one of the knocks on Quinn. He's improved his skating, and he proved that he can play away from the puck. So I think because of that, I think Jack Quinn has solidified himself as a top 15 prospect. Lastly, we have the Toronto Maple Leafs. We have these guys. Now, I really want them to get Braden Schneider. If they could do that, that'd be awesome. But I think they're going to go with defenseman Caden Gooley from the Prince Albert Raiders. Now, I think they're going to go with Gooley because I think at this point, again, one of the best players available and fits a huge need for the Leafs. Now, I know he's not a right shot, but they just need to add defensemen. We need quality defensemen in our lineup, and if we have the chance to draft one at 15, I'll take it. It doesn't matter. Whoever we draft's going to need a year or two anyway, at least, before they come into the team. So I believe taking a guy like Gooley, who's big, he can skate well, he's defensively strong. The only question about him that they are concerned about is his upside, and his offensive upside specifically. And if you're looking at the Leafs, the one thing they don't need on the back end is more offense, because they have a ton of that already. So I think if Caden Gooley goes to the Leafs, I think he'd be a really nice fit for them. I think he'd complement a lot of their guys. He'd add some size to the back end, which would be really nice. So I would love for these guys to take Caden Gooley. And anyways, that is the end of this mock draft, guys. I really hope you like this video. I'm super excited for the NHL draft. If you guys have any questions, anything at all, please, message me on Instagram. You guys have all my info. And I'm really, really excited for this draft. Please follow me. Please like this video if you enjoyed it. And if you really enjoyed this video, click that subscribe button. Tell your friends. Tell people that, love hockey, because, guys, I love talking hockey here. Take it easy, everybody.